This video is made possible thanks to EA Game Changers. Thank you so much, EA. Hello, welcome to another speed build with Frimlin. I was very lucky to get a copy of the Seasons expansion pack to play for a couple of days just before the release date. Well, I say play, but actually we only have about a day or so to prepare a video, unlike for Jungle Adventure Game Pack. So this time I had to really think about what kind of video I would do, and knowing my experience for the Jungle Adventure Game Pack, I realised that doing like a let's play wasn't going to be very popular, so I thought I'd better stick to doing a build, because usually my builds are quite popular in the grand scheme of things, you know, when compared to my other videos. So I thought, let's do a build, let's do a small to medium house. Shouldn't be too hard, right? Well, that's what I thought. But actually, the more I've been doing speed builds recently, the more and more I've edited them and tried to make them so slick. And unfortunately I can't really claim that this video is as slick as some of my recent speed builds, but I still tried to do as best as I could, but I actually missed the time that we're supposed to have the video ready by, unfortunately. So yeah, this is my little house that I made with the Seasons expansion pack, and like I do for many of my builds, this is a restricted pack build. Now, I usually like doing restricted pack builds anyway, but when a new pack comes out, I like doing very restricted pack builds, and what that means basically is I just use the pack that's come out and the base game, and that's exactly what I did here. So I've actually got quite a few different builds in mind for the Seasons expansion pack, but I had to choose just one to get in the very short window that we had to prepare a video, and so I thought, yeah, a house would be pretty easy to do. I've just done a couple of houses recently, or buildings recently, that were in the kind of Tudor wooden framed style, so I wanted to skip that here, and of course that style didn't come along in the Seasons expansion pack, so I would have had to use Get Together to make that style house. And I'm also on the side working on another completely modern build, and so I thought for this build I would try and do something relatively traditional, but not from any particularly old style or anything like that. And so that's what I've tried to do here. Now, I tried to do some kind of pre-building before I actually got the Seasons expansion pack to work with, and this is what you're seeing here. I basically made the exterior of the house, the chimney, like you can see now. I did a bit of the garden, the fence, that kind of thing. And it was a bit later that I got the pack, and I managed to be able to stick pack-specific stuff on it instead, and that started with mostly the windows and the doors. I'm still adjusting the exterior here. Actually, this is a really good time to point out that unlike some of my recent speed builds, this speed build I edited quite well, but there's still quite a bit of, what should I call it, Frimlin hesitation going on. And so you'll see me do things and then delete them and then do them again and stuff like that, and that's something I usually edit out of my speed builds. It does make me look a bit more decisive than I actually am, but I was in a hurry to make this speed build, so you'll see me be a bit more decisive than you might have got used to, so please forgive that. But yeah, I think you probably saw it, but I moved the door to the other side of the building. If you don't recognise this door and these windows, well, that's because they came along in the Seasons expansion pack, and they all go very nicely with each other, which is always a good thing. And you can always, well, usually rely on that with a pack, you know, that all the different doors and windows in a pack will match. That's usually the case. Sometimes I've seen a couple of exceptions, but they do seem to work very well in this pack. And what am I doing with all these windows in a row like that? Well, actually, what I'm going to do is going to be revealed very soon, because I'm placing the roofing styles, and look, I put a glass roof. So I actually don't think I have ever done like a glass roof in a build, and what I mean is that a lot of people have used the kind of dancing floors that you can get from, I think it's Get Together, and you can make a glass roof. I think I did put like one in a nightclub I did once, kind of nightclub science lab combined build. Very strange build, I know. But yeah, but other than that, I don't think I have done like a glass roof. But now we actually have real glass roofs, so I've stuck one in. And yeah, I just had this idea. Well, I think probably everyone is going to have this idea, but I wanted to have like kind of like a glass house attached to the house. I also wanted to have like a dining area that has a glass roof above it. Right, so I've just placed a big tree outside with a swing, and this is the first time we've seen swings in Sims 4. And from the about 5 minutes of playtesting I have done with this house so far, you can have a child sitting on the swing and an adult pushing them. I have heard that adults can also use the swing, or at least teens, but maybe I misheard, I don't know. I haven't tried it myself. Like I said, I haven't had any time to play yet. But yeah, definitely an adult can push a kid, as you'll see the showcase at the end. So I placed a few trees. I tried to vary the type of trees I was using. Sometimes it works well to use the same type of tree everywhere to kind of set a theme. But in this case, I don't know if I deliberately avoided that, but somehow I managed to avoid it anyway. Maybe by purpose, maybe just by accident. But yeah, all the trees I use are completely different from each other. So I'm now placing some wall lamps that came with Seasons expansion, and they're pretty standard run-of-the-mill wall lamps. I mean, I'm not going to write home about them, but you know, they're also pretty decent. There's nothing wrong with them. So yeah, they seem to go well here. So there they are, and I actually also use them inside when I'm finishing the inside as well, which I do about from the halfway mark or so onwards. If you really want to skip ahead, because I'm not sure if everyone likes seeing the kind of external landscaping stuff. So I think I changed the world I was building in, and I changed the season I was in. I think we're now in autumn, and in this world, when I started in autumn, it seems to have quite a different lighting scheme, and it's actually significantly darker, even though it's like the middle of the day. And unfortunately this affects the screenshots and the showcase videos that I have at the end. So I actually had to kind of artificially brighten them just to give them a bit more light, because I'm used to showing my builds with quite a bit of light. You know, obviously the more light, the more you can see, that kind of thing. But if it's quite dark, it's a bit more obscured, and it just looks, I don't know, a little less cheerful, I guess. So yeah, I had to artificially brighten it, but that's just something we're going to have to get used to with builds that are done in seasons other than summer. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, all you Sims 3 fanatics that still play it, but back in Sims 3, I think in build mode, you were able to change the season, but I don't think, from what I've seen, that you can do it in Sims 4 seasons, which is a bit of a shame. Basically, I think I have to exit the world, go into another save game, another world, and choose a different season, place the house again, stuff like that, just to kind of force a new season, which is a little annoying, but it's fine, I'm just going to have to play around a bit when I build and see which season I prefer building in. Maybe I could somehow force a save game's world to stick to one particular season for a long time. From what I was playing around with yesterday, I think that you can change the season length for different save games. I could be wrong, but that's how it seemed to be. So maybe I can make it summer in my build world and then make it permanently summer by having like a really long season. I don't know. Anyhow, let's get back to the actual build. So I've been doing a bit of ground cover, as you might have noticed, and I did this kind of ground cover with another build I did relatively recently called McLeod Manor, and I like this ground cover. And actually, I don't think I'd used it before that build, and now that I've used it, I like using it so much because it's a bit like doing the painted landscape, but it's got like a three-dimensional nature to it. So yeah, I really like this ground cover, and I'm probably going to use it a lot. And especially now that I'm using Move Objects cheat. I mean, I don't know if you know, probably you do, because I imagine some of you at least have been coming here for a while, but I never used to use Move Objects cheat at all. I would still manage to do quite good, in my opinion, landscaping, but you can't really overlap plants very well without using Move Objects cheat. But now that I'm using Move Objects cheat, I really have no excuse, and so it gives me the opportunity to overlap lots of plants and do lots more interesting gardens than I was doing before. Now that mailbox, I placed it there, but in the tiny 5 minutes of playtesting I did so far, it doesn't look like it's going to be a very good place, because it seems that the bills were delivered to my testing sims while they were in, and the mailman couldn't get to that mailbox. I don't know why. It's in a pretty standard kind of place. I often place mailboxes right next to the door like that. But yeah, I'm going to have to find a different place for it. So this ground cover just under the tree here, if you don't place the house or Move Objects cheat on, the tree won't appear. So that's something that would have really annoyed me before I started using Move Objects cheat, but now I'm kind of over it. I'm kind of used to using the cheat. I don't really care about that so much, but I might tweak it a bit, because I know that if you want to get a Maxis favorite on your build in the gallery, then Maxis don't like it that if they place a build without the Move Objects cheat, if something really obvious like that is missing. You can get away with a little bit of stuff being missing because the cheat isn't activated, but a thing like that massive big tree not placing is a bit of a problem. So I might try and see if I can make it place without the cheat being enabled, but we shall see. One thing I do want to note here, however, is that even though I've kind of rushed to make this build and the speed build editing, I have decided that I want to spend a bit more time with this build because I actually quite like the end result. And I don't want to just upload it to the gallery. I usually rush, well not rush, but I usually, once I've finished my build and I've done the speed build, I usually put the build straight onto the gallery, and then I put a link to the gallery download in the description of the video. But in this case, I'm going to put in a bit of filler text saying link incoming, because I want to spend a bit longer to get this house into a kind of, let's say, a Frimlin standard before I add it to the gallery, because I don't want people on the gallery to download my stuff and think, that's a bit annoying, he hasn't done that bit right, he's missed something glaringly obvious there. You know, I haven't given proper playtesting before doing the showcase at the end. Usually I just have a lot more time to build and playtest and, you know, make sure everything's perfect. At least as far as I believe perfect to be. But yeah, I just didn't have that this time, and you know, it's such a great opportunity to, you know, play with seasons just a couple of days before release, so I really wanted to make the most of this opportunity, so that meant hurrying myself along. And yeah, but I will come back and I will make sure that this place looks good before I upload it. It's as good as it can be in the time I've got. I keep going on about that. Look, I promise you I'm not using it as an excuse. I'm really not. It's just I feel bad about it because it usually, well, look, just to be honest, I am a slow builder. I'm not a fast builder. I know a lot more productive, faster builders than me. I'm very picky. I mean, what I mean by that, because when you say you're very picky, I think it can sound like a compliment, but what I mean is I'm overly picky. I can get annoyed by very small things that really aren't much of a problem, and they can be left and the place can still be playable and probably there won't be any issues. But I don't know, I think it's probably to do with my early career as a game designer. I just want to make sure everything is, in my opinion, perfect. But even after that, even after I've spent a long time building, I do look at some of my old builds and I go, what was I thinking when I did that? Hey, I just want to point out, I really like this bed. I didn't really have much time to look at the different colours, But I like this purple, and that's why I settled with it. And this is where I'm choosing the floor. Now usually I'm a lot more decisive looking with the floor, but in this case you saw me try a couple of different types of floor before I chose this one. And yeah, I think I usually like a bit more time. Here I am mentioning time again. Look, just be quiet about time and move on with that Frimlin. Anyway, look at this nice painting. Now that's not the one I eventually stick with for this room. I change it around, and I think you'll see me changing it quite a bit before I decide on one. Now this kind of plant pot thing that I was placing, I try and put, I think, in almost every room. Now this chest of drawers, as we would call it, or I don't know what is the other term for it. Well, let's call it just a chest of drawers. This chest of drawers is, of course, from the Seasons expansion pack. Now I point that out even though you know that I'm using only the Seasons expansion pack, because sometimes I will use something from the base game. Like that plant is from the base game, but that mirror is from Seasons, and actually I really like that mirror. It's definitely different to the other mirrors we have. It's bigger, I think, than most mirrors. I don't know if it's bigger than all mirrors. I mean, obviously some mirrors go from like the floor to the ceiling, so it's not bigger than those, but it's a nice big kind of fat mirror, you know, it's really good, so I like it. Now this chair that I place, I think I might change that out before I upload it, but there's that plant pot that I was talking about, the one by the door. I think every room I try and place that plant pot, and I think if I hadn't been a bit more restrictive with myself, if I hadn't held myself back as much as I did, I would have placed it in every room because I really like it. And you know, maybe I'll go back and I'll still place it in every room. I'm really glad that we got more curtains with Seasons, and look, these ones are purple. They match the beard, they match the rug. Isn't that great? And yeah, I really like these curtains, and I like that so many packs have had their own sets of curtains, and there also seems to be quite a lot of thought going into making sure that there are curtains for every size of window, which, Maxis, I really appreciate that. I know you've just given me a copy of Seasons, and maybe I sound like I'm just being overly appreciative, but honestly I really appreciate that they've got so many different curtains for so many different windows. That's just so helpful for when you're trying to, you know, make a consistent look in a room. Now look at these beds. They're single beds. I don't think they're just for kids. That's my impression of them. I mean, I know I can look at the game right now and find out for sure, but I think they're also usable by adults, and if so, that's particularly cool. It might be quite nice in a very small house, like, I mean, even smaller than this, like a starter house size house, even if it's not a starter house budget, because I don't think those beds are going to be cheap. They just don't look cheap now, do they? Now, this chest of drawers is also in Seasons, and it's quite different from the other one. It almost looks like it might have fit in another pack, but I don't know which pack that would be. So I guess that's just my opinion, but I don't know, it doesn't look like it quite fits with the other furniture. But I like it, I appreciate it, I like that it's there, and I'm using the mirror again. But I'm also using this kind of arrangement of cut flowers, and it's really nice. I mean, those colours there, the whites and the pastels, they kind of remind me of a wedding, and that's perhaps an odd choice for this room, but I was using that kind of colour in here anyway, well, apart from the wallpaper, which is, I know it's a bit perhaps weird, it doesn't quite match the bed in one sense, but I felt it worked. Somehow I just felt it worked, because I mean, the beds have a bit of this kind of reddy, orangey, pinky. That's quite a range of colours there from the, but you know what I mean. The beds aren't just white. They have a kind of, is it pink? Is it red? Is it orange? I'm not sure. And so does the wallpaper. It's mostly white. It has a bit of black, but it also has these little flecks of, I think they're red. Just looking at it from a distance. But yeah, I don't know. Somehow I felt it worked. Okay, so I just had a kind of like, I was just lost for a second there. I didn't know where I was in the build. But we're right next to that kind of kids' room. We're at what I would call the landing, and I basically made it into a kind of a sitting area, kind of study, like an open study that people walk through to get to the bedrooms and the bathroom. I pretty much always like a computer in my builds, and that's because as a player I like having a computer for my Sims to use. So I don't think you're going to be surprised to see me placing a computer here. Now this rug came along with Seasons, and I must point out before we go on that so did that desk and the light on the desk, but the chair is from the base game, and there I am placing that plant pot again. And I think that one stays. So yeah, 2 variations of the same plant pot on the same floor. Oh well. Not a big deal. Anyhow, we need a bathroom. Oh look, a bathroom suddenly fades in. I don't know, it just doesn't seem like filming a bathroom is always that interesting. So yeah, often I skip over the filming of a bathroom, and I also needed to kind of cut back on the footage I had for this build so I could keep it to a relatively manageable size. Now if I was doing my ultra slick editing that I've been doing in some of my recent speed builds, the video would be a lot shorter than it is. I think I could probably get it down to, I don't know, 20 to 25 minutes. But I'm not doing the ultra slick editing, in my opinion. Here, I still edit a bit. But yeah, I am still leaving quite a bit in, but I think I mentioned that earlier. So I just want a little kind of seating area outside. There's actually a lot of space out here, and I think even at the end there's still quite a bit of space. Now that could be cool if you like quite a bit of space, but I think I like filling the space a bit more than I have done so far. So it's quite likely that what you see at the end of the showcase video and screenshots won't be the end product that's uploaded to the gallery, because I'll probably try and fill it in a bit more. For another example is just here where I'm putting a couple of relatively basic seats next to the pool. Now I don't think I'm really happy with these seats, so it's quite likely that I'll change them. And this table that I placed right now actually disappears at some point. I think it's when I'm making the bathroom inside. I do a downstairs bathroom just behind that table. I think you're going to see it suddenly appearing soon. No, we're going to do the kitchen now. So yeah, this is the kitchen. You walk in the entrance and you're suddenly in the kitchen. Well, why not, eh? That is particularly useful, by the way, if you're playing and your Sims have just eaten their breakfast, they're all ready to go, they can just walk out the door. Sometimes, especially in bigger builds, if you have Sims all over the place, it can take a while to get out the house. But if you have a kitchen right next to the door like I have here, then it's quite convenient. Okay, look, I'm trying to justify this perhaps strange choice. It's not that strange. It's okay, Frimlin, it's okay. Actually, I need to get much more used to building a relatively small to medium sized house like this, because you do have to be quite, you have to plan really where you're going to have the rooms. You have to really think about it, and I think because I was kind of rushing myself, I think in retrospect I probably wouldn't have done the floor plan quite like this. If you've watched me for a while, I don't usually struggle with floor plans, and I didn't find myself struggling that much with this one. But I think just because I was trying to push myself to get it done, maybe if I'd had a bit more time on my hands, I would have not put the kitchen here. But oh well, the kitchen is here. Let's just get used to it. So yeah, there's not much in the kitchen that comes from the season's expansion. These rugs do though, and those lights do. That light, that floor lamp does, and so does the chair next to it, the kind of comfy chair, and so does that plant pot, the same one. I'm using it again. And look, it's an umbrella stand, yay! Now those stairs also come from Season's expansion, I should point out, but the the ceiling lamps that I actually have to take them out because a little bit later on, and I think you see it in this video, but a little bit later on I'm looking down at the glass roof that's above those lights, and the lights, they look like they're floating in midair. So I had to take them out, and I put some wall lamps. I think I put one wall lamp just above the painting. You'll see it a bit later. And I also put like a table lamp on the counter, just to kind of compensate for the fact that I've taken away 2 rather decent ceiling lamps. So this rather bright rug that you just saw for a second, that's the kind of thing that I would edit out usually. Because it just looks so obviously wrong. But I don't know, sometimes you just have to try these things, and sometimes actually, even if you think they're probably not going to work, sometimes things can work. But yeah, I didn't think that actually did, so I stuck to using the same rug that I was already using. Now I'm placing a thermostat right now. Now that's something that came in Seasons, and it controls the temperature inside the house. Now, what I don't know, because I haven't played yet, is I don't know if you need a thermostat in every room. I don't know if the thermostat controls the temperature inside the entire place. Basically, I just don't know. And hey, you probably saw, I didn't point it out, but hey, there was a bathroom that just appeared there. And yeah, the bathroom I think is mostly using season stuff, because there's a new toilet, a bath, there's a shower in the upstairs bathroom, but not downstairs. But there is a bath in both bathrooms, and the reason I've done that is because I like having one downstairs for dogs and toddlers, because often you end up playing downstairs. Well, I do. I often end up playing downstairs, during normal gameplay, and it's just much more convenient having a bath downstairs as well. The bathroom, which you don't actually really see, has mostly season stuff in it, and it also has a rather nice wall decoration, which you can just see right now, with a bit of plants sticking out of it. It's like shelves of plants, and I'm actually placing some other shelves of plants right now in this kind of greenhouse that I've not been talking about while I've been building. But yeah, this is kind of like an indoor greenhouse. I don't know why I did that. I'm not sure if I like it anymore, but I've done it now, so here it is. And yeah, it's also got a beehive inside. I don't know, yet again, I don't know if that really will work, but I saw it, I think, in the live stream, which I saw a bit of. There was a live stream just showing off Seasons before it was released, run by Maxis, and I think they had indoor beehives, so I don't think it's going to be a problem, but maybe it will be. We shall see. I might try and play around with that before I upload it, but yeah, it stays in here up until the showcase, so yeah, let's just live with it. But yeah, I've taken out those ceiling lamps like I mentioned earlier. I've just placed down a lamp on the counter, and I'm placing the same kind of log-shaped lamp on the wall there above the painting, and clock above the door so you can see the time. Very handy, even though Sims don't actually use it. It's just purely decorative, but it looks like it's not. So now I've got this rather large kind of open plan space, and I'm not sure about this wallpaper, but I stick with it once I decide on it, and I might go back and change that later. But yeah, so here is a lounge dining room kind of open plan space, and again I'm using the curtains from the new pack, and it's always good when an object has like a plain kind of neutral option like that one. Those curtains come in cream with, I think, is it gold or a bronze kind of, what would you call it? I can't think of the word right now. Railing? The curtain hangs on. That's always very handy, having a neutral option. Anyway, we're now placing a rather formal looking dining area, and again this has a glass roof above it, so I had to put the lights on the table, and those are probably going to conflict with plates when you start setting it and eating at it, so you'll probably have to remove those later. Actually, I think we need to place some floor lamps in this dining area, and I think I'll do that before I upload. I'm placing another one of those kind of log lamps, I'm calling it, on the wall there. Actually, all the walls around there, to make sure that the place is well lit. But yeah, probably you could stick a couple of floor lamps in there, and I will probably do that before I upload. So now we need like a TV area, and I'm using a new kind of sofa, two-person sofa that came with the pack. And it's always a bit of a kind of delicate kind of game trying to get the sofas and seats in front of a television in just the right place so that Sims don't move around to try and watch TV. As a player, I get really annoyed by Sims switching chairs, so I like them to be able to sit down straight away and see the TV. If you have a seat too close to the TV, then they can't see the TV and they just won't sit there to watch. So yeah, that could be annoying. I've just activated the Move Objects cheat. I'm not exactly sure why. Actually, no, I think I turned it off to make sure that there wasn't any kind of weird clipping the chairs and the coffee table, because otherwise Sims won't be able to sit down properly because the coffee table will be too close to the sofa. But I think I put Move Objects cheat on again later on, and you probably saw it, but I placed that plant pot again, the one I seem to be in love with, in the corner there. I actually don't know if it is in every room. I think it isn't in the bathrooms. And hey, I think it's a bit weird perhaps having so many seats like this, and if you have seats of like different kind of areas like this too close to each other, you can get some weird behavior in your gameplay. What could happen is a Sim could be sitting on one of the seats facing the fire, and another Sim could be watching the TV and they could be talking to each other. And that's okay if one of them was actually like reading in front of the fire and the other one was watching TV, but if they've just been having like a group conversation and they decide, hey, let's go down and sit, over here, and they continue to talk with their backs to each other, well, hey, I think that's really weird. And I wish that Sims wouldn't do that. So I don't usually like having seats this close to each other, but I've done it here. I'm probably going to leave it there because I quite like these little areas, like the TV watching area and the fire watching area. Now this, well, first of all, the little table next to the chairs in front of the fire came along with the pack, and so did this bookcase. So yeah, I haven't had a chance really to look what's on the bookcase, but it seems to be a collection of books. Funny that, huh? So yeah, lots of extra open space here, and I just had to fill it, and I've stuck in a surface. In this case, it's a little table, a little side table with a tablecloth on top of it. And because there's so much wood around, I always think it's good to have open flames near, so that, Sims can keep warm in winter or something like that. But yeah, probably for fire and safety reasons, we shouldn't have open flames near so much wood, but oh well. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think it's probably going to be more of a problem that I have some kind of painting above the fireplace, because in my experience, that kind of thing often leads to a fire. So this object, this kind of coat rack, this kind of elaborate coat rack, I did place it next to the door going through to the bathroom, but I move it a bit later on. I've moved it now, and I like where it is. It's kind of somewhere between the back door and the front door, which could be quite handy perhaps. Although there is already a coat rack by the front door. Maybe this is like the back door's coat rack or something like that. But also it was an object in the pack that I hadn't used yet, so I wanted to use it. And yeah, so I did. And this side table that I just changed the color on, I really like it. I haven't had a chance to really look at what's inside it, but I think it is plates and stuff like that. So it's quite good for like a dining area or a kitchen. It's now time for the showcase. So there it is, a relatively small house built using only the Seasons expansion pack and the base game. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll come back and check out some of my other speed builds, or maybe some of my Let's Play series as well. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Goodbye.